Just one day out from the King's Plate at Woodbine. Let's talk some Woodbine Saturday. I'm going to look at the pick five. We're going to look at races 2 through 6, and then we'll also take a look at the stakes races on the card because Saturday is a day with a couple stakes races, but Sunday with the King's Plate, 5 stakes races, and the big one, the King's Plate, with a field of 17. That's going to be Sunday. We need to make some money first on Saturday. We're going to do so diving into the daily racing form past performances. We're going to look at the formulator style past performances. You can actually get those for free if you play along with DRF bets. So here's what you want to do. You want to head to sign up for an account, DRF bets, use the promo code WINNING, and then deposit $250 because they will match you all the way up to $250. So all of a sudden, your $250 becomes $500 with the deposit match, and then they give you a $10 free bet for registering. They'll also give you 10 free formulator cards. A card is one track for one day, so we're looking at one card right now for Woodbine. Then once you're signed up, then you have an account and you're playing through DRF bets. Every time you bet $50, you'll get credit for another formulator card. So you want to continue to play along with DRF and DRF bets. Let's dive into Saturday, August the 19th. Remember, the early pick five always begins in race number 2. And on Thursday, Friday, it's a $50,000 guarantee. Saturday, Sunday, that thing bumps up to $100,000. And then on King's Plate Sunday, there's going to be all sorts of different guarantees throughout the card. We'll make sure we explain those to you on Sunday. Race number 2 kicks off that early pick five. And remember, you can play all these pick five wagers for the 20-cent base if you like. I'm going to look towards the outside here. A couple that are on my radar. The 8, It's Game Night. I think he is the horse to catch and beat. What's positive about him, he might be the quickest in here. He can also sit off if he needs to a little bit from the outside, but he's going to be dropping in class now, and he's going to make the third start off the long layoff. I think he's set for a big one. I would have no problem playing a pick five where I single him right off the bat. Others to include are the ones right next door to him. The 7, Blue Max, is a major player. Blue Max is 3-1 in the morning line. He was a couple lengths off, but he was behind a wall of horses. If you look at the running line, he was 7th early, but only a length out of it. He was in the 2 path. He was in between. And then because there was all of that traffic in front of him, he got steady. He just had absolutely nowhere to go until early in the stretch. He did win the battle for 3rd that day. So he's a player in here, no doubt. Right next door, the number 6, Kid Forrester, pretty consistent at this level. Like, he's going to have to turn the tables on a horse like Blue Max, who beat him 2 starts back. But he did improve in his most recent start. He's a 7-year-old. He's not a win machine. As you can see, he's just 3 for 30, but he's not far below what it would take to be really competitive in here, and he could offer you some decent value. One other in here that you may want to look at is the 2, but I'm going to try to play against Rockstar Row. They're taking a big drop down in class. They're just sort of looking for where he fits now at this point. I'll go against and use the couple to the outside, and we'll build really around the 8 horse, who we can hope It's Game Night can steal this race or just sit that really nice forwardly placed trip. Lots of Blue Max in the mix for me too. 7, 8, and then some 6s, Kid Forrester. So 8, 7, 6 in race number 2 as we move along to the 3rd race. And this one will be mile and a 16th on the synthetic 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2, optional 40. Pretty straightforward for me in here, so I won't even spend a ton of time in this race. I usually like to spend more time in the races where there's a horse that's a bigger price that I like, or maybe a little bit outside the box. Posturing will now stretch out, so I think he could be more forwardly placed in this race. The 4, Uptown Lights, just had a brutal trip last time out, just bad racing luck. Fast Start was on the lead, but then others to the outside all went forward. He got shuffled back as he stayed inside, and all of a sudden he goes from 1st to like 8th of 9, about 4 or 5 lengths out of it. Really unlucky. And I think you can expect a little more because he comes out of a race where he was behind a couple horses that we're going to see actually running in the King's Plate. So let's give the 4 a big look in here. The 6 is probably the horse to beat. He also comes out of that same race on July the 30th. He needed his last off the year break, He was 3. The horse, all 3 in front of him are entered in the King's Plate. One of them's an 8 and also eligible. Enjoy the silent. He got parked out to the 4 path going into the turn, and he went up to settle in second. He was just chasing. He was all in early, and it was his first start off a long layoff. It was very logical. We can expect a move forward. I like the 4 in here most. I would stack them 4, 6, 2 in that order. Nothing really creative for me. As we move along to race number 4, I like the 8 in here. That is a Thread of Blue. So this is a horse who has a little bit of backclass. If you remember early on in his career, he was a graded stakes winner. He still is a graded stakes winner. You can't take that away from him, but he's not quite as classy at this point. He was a precocious horse too, but he's still got some ability. And if you just look at his overall turf form, it's really good. And you can see it just feels like he perks back up every time he gets on the grass. His last 2 have been very good, and they're both in spots that are, on paper tougher than this. And if you look at the horses who are in those races, the races have come back pretty strong recently. You have Palazzi, who is in there, comes back to win next time out, earns an 86 Beyer speed figure doing so. You have the 3rd place finisher Ready for the Lady, who comes back to win next time out and then finishes 3rd following that. So I feel like the turf races he's coming out of are good. And it just feels like a really nice spot for him. Doesn't seem to be quite as quick. Used to be more of a speed horse. Now he wants to sit a little bit mid-pack, and so he needs a little help up front. Things have changed a bit for him as he's gotten older. The 5, Grand Journey, obvious player in here, maybe just going a little too far last time out, put a line right through it. Now you cut back and you go out for a barn who's excellent first start off the claim. Very logical with Grand Journey. 8, 5. I'd also look at the 2. This is a beautifully bred horse. In these types of races, he'll probably be overbet a little early in his career because he's really well bred, and the connections, like strong Woodbine connections, and he's just a fit at Woodbine. These, like you remember these siblings. You remember his dam. You remember Lady Spite Spear. So he would never be shocking when he wins these races, but I think he's always going to be a little bit overbet. And, he'll try the turf in here after he won his debut, and he did it nicely. I have no knocks on what he's done. I just think overall he might be a little bit overvalued, but this could be a really, really nice horse. Still maybe a spot to try to beat him against horses who have more experience, more turf experience. He's facing older horses, and he's only making his 2nd start. But he's hard to not talk about when you're looking at this race, because he could be any kind. He's bred to be. The 6 was the other one on my radar in here. That's Classy Whisper, who's, last 4 consecutive races are all pretty good. And, we can say that maybe a little too far going the mile in the 16th last time out. You got back-to-back victories at the 7 furlongs and then the mile, so the 7.5 hits him right between the eyes. May 28th, he may have needed that race coming off the bench, and so now look at the pattern. Everything makes sense. He stepped forward in his 2nd start. He stepped forward again in his 3rd start, and then he sort of paired that up again next time and as the form cycle starts back over. So, not a lot of knocks here. I went 8, 5, 2, 6 in race number 4. As we move to the 5th race, this one's a fun one. It's 7 furlongs on the turf. These are 2-year-old fillies. So I like the 8. I'm going to watch this race that the 8 comes out of. This was on July the 22nd. Both the 6, 12, actually in the 10 too. So all 3 of them were in here. So that's Creval de Oro, Nantucket's Day, and Magic Token. So let's watch this race from July the 22nd. We'll be looking at the 6, 10, and 12.
This field about to go.
Hey, Robert, how you doing? Robert Geller. For the purpose of this particular replay, let's be focusing in on the number 6 here. So, fine start, up like mid-pack or so, just behind some of the early leaders. And you'll see Aerosa, your 6-5 favorite, gets out front. That's the horse who ends up winning this race. So your winner gets out front, goes gate to wire, doesn't have to deal with any other pressure. Now, watch the 6 horse settling in 6th right now, behind horses, was down inside, backs up a little bit, and is sitting in a good spot, is traveling pretty well. She really does show me some ability in here. She just is traveling well, and she runs nicely in spots, but she's facing a lone speed winner, and you can see in the stretch she's a little bit green. Right here, she's looking for somewhere to go. Okay, she's going to look, doesn't want to go in between, shift to the outside, and now she comes a running, and she makes a nice little bid up into contention, but she starts zigging and zagging. That little green in the stretch. But I thought a good effort. You understand why she can't get to the leader that day. She's sort of gaining on the runner-up, the horse who's right in front of her. And then, while we were focusing in on the 6, obviously, here comes the 12, not far behind. This is Nantucket's Day, who's also in this race, and I think also could be a player. I wouldn't want to leave that one out of your pick 5. As Nantucket's Day comes storming down the outside with this red cap. And now, keep in mind, both of these fillies who are late runners in this race, chasing a lone speed winner, they'll get another furlong. Or half furlong. They were going 6.5. Now they'll get to 7 in here. And we should get a fair price. Like, I think 5-1 plus on Creval d'Oro. Very fair. The 4 looks like the horse to beat, Stormcast, has been in the mix in both. The Dam was good on the turf, too. Was a 5-time winner on the grass. Was a multiple stakes winner. Was multiple graded stakes placed on the turf. 2 winning turf siblings to report. And this one is the most proven speed in here. This horse was 3rd in a stakes race last time out. We do have to have some questions about the going 7 furlongs, but in it throughout. 8 for the 6 Destiny Row. Just seems logical. A couple of winning sibs for a barn who's really good on the turf. Really good first time out. Top-notch connections. Should be a fair price in a wide open race. I'm throwing the 6 Destiny Row into the pick 5s. We spoke about the 12 already. Nantucket's Day, who was behind the aforementioned Creval d'Oro. Heck, this is such a tough race. People will be using many more in here. What's wrong with the 7 simply in front? The Dam didn't win on the turf, but hit the board in 4 of 7. Both siblings were turf stakes winners. So look, the Dam, while not a winner, definitely showed ability on the turf, was a runner-up to Lady Eli. And then you have Churchtown, who was a stakes winner on the grass. Honor to Lady, stakes winner on the turf. Very turfy for simply in front. Just a barn that's not necessarily always the best first time out. That's why I had this one more of an under and one of the last to use. What about the 9? Dam was 2 for 3 on the turf. The lone sib only tried grass once and was 3rd on it. And this barn is 2 for their last 8 with first-time starters. So check this out. When you dive into the formulator, past performances here, you can go to the database and then you can click anything you want. So we can look at first-time starters with this barn. Over the last 5 years sample size, they've won with 3 of their last 27. But as I mentioned, 2 of the last 8. And look at the last 8 races. The last 8 times this barn has sent out a first-time starter. 1st, 4th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 4th. All of these first-time starters are running, right? They're all coming out live. They're all putting in good efforts, even when they're not winning. Something to keep an eye on with the number 9. So 8, 4, 6, 12 for me all over the place. Those will be the 4. The 8, I'll build some around. I'll play some win money. And then if you need to go a little deeper, 7 and 9 would both be on the deeper ones for me. And then we get to race number 6. Maiden special weight. 3-year-olds and up going a mile on the turf course here. The number 4, Rebel Faith, interesting to me. This one's just naturally one of the quicker horses in here. Who gets the lead in this race? 1's not fast. 2's not fast. 3's not fast. 5 is not fast. 6 has that race in the debut in the slop that seems like he's got a little bit of speed at least. And I think he has to be used because of that. He has shown a little speed in that race on the slop at Ellis, then comes over here to Woodbine. Not a bad effort closing behind Aha Moment, who sits a really nice trip, and then Aha Moment comes back to win next out and earns a nice speed figure in doing so. So 6 is in the mix for me. The 4, I think because he's fresh. He hasn't raced since November of 2022. So, the layoff is definitely something to worry about. But he just might naturally be one of the quicker horses in here. I could see him being fresh, being aggressive off the bench. I'm going to use him in case he gets out front. And that's what could make this race really difficult to handicap, because if any one of these horses and their trainers, owners, jockeys have gotten together and said, let's get aggressive, and everyone else sort of sits off, whomever that is will have a big shot. Like maybe it's King Elvis from the inside. They try to get aggressive. This horse got bet in both. And he exits some strong races, but he, again, like Rebel Faith, hasn't raced since last year. I'm going to go 4, 6, and 2. Mr. Nobility is the horse to beat. He was inside. He was fit 6th or so early. He was only about 3 lengths off. He was traveling well. He was behind horses. He made a big move, kind of shifting out and up to the lead. He was in the 4 path battling early in the stretch, and then he faded. But we're, again, looking at, in this race, a lot of question marks, because the 1 hasn't raced since October of 2022. The 2 hasn't raced since August of 2022. The 3 horse, while having more recency, hasn't been closer than beaten 5 lengths. The 4 hasn't raced since last year. The 5 has a lot of gaps in the running lines, did run in June, but that was just the first start of the year and has a layoff prior to that. And then over and all, he at least has some foundation. So I think because of that, he's a must use. 4, 6, 2 in the 6th for me. Let's keep going and talk about the 2 stakes races on the card for Saturday. In the 7th race, the 1 feels like a standout just on class in here. This filly had legitimate trouble at Belmont on June the 9th and was only beaten a length and 3/4 against Graded Stakes Company, and then came back and was second last time out in the Hendry right here at Graded Stakes. So quality filly. She draws the rail. I think if you're trying to beat her, or if you want to maybe knock those who key on her, that could be one of your concerns. Is there's a lot of speed in this race, and she has the rail draw. So if they try to get aggressive and she gets in tight down there, Hard Edge is really fast. Run for the Hills wants to be close. Forest Drift wants to be close and forwardly placed in here. And Van Tarsi wants to be close, and Canadian Sweetheart. Like all of these horses pretty much want to be right up on the lead and are very fast. So it's going to come down to the tactics for the 1. That's why I think if you're trying to beat her, it's probably with the 2. Talk to You Later, who should get that type of trip, who should be able to come running and should just take back, let all that early pace go and burn each other out, and then come flying. So for me, if we can get close to 3-1 or above on Talk to You Later, that would be the play for me, just the way this race shapes up. But the one could be really tough. Like if they just take back and sit third or fourth from the inside and don't get caught up in the pace, she'll be pretty tough to hold off. Let's go to the 9th race. It is the grade 2 King Edward. We're going to be going a mile on the turf in here. Couple to keep an eye on. You got Palo Alto, who's going to make the second start back. He's going to get Lasix for the first time. This is a multiple group stakes winner, I believe. No, just a group 2 winner. All right, yeah. Back in February of 2022. Sits the trip, comes running, feels like a player in here. Actually thought at a nice price if you're playing any sorts of exotics. Maybe the 3, the Minkster, gets in the mix here. He looks like the one to catch. He's going to go second start off the bench, and he gets back to grass in here, stretching out to a mile. He was in that sprint race, and he was on the lead. That's going to really sharpen up his speed for him now stretching back out. And then you have the 7 is a really nice horse, Treason. He's good on both surfaces, and you can see he's a 5-year-old, and he's only raced 8 times, so he's had some issues just stringing a bunch of races together. But he's been good, especially in the Josie Carroll barn as of late, and he lost to, I believe, his stablemate Tyson in the most recent race, and then Tyson came back and won the Seagram Cup in his next start. He's a really nice horse, too. I would probably take a shot against Cheryl Spate on the win end here. No doubt classy. And if he's ready to rock and roll or gives, his best effort, he could win this race for sure. But I don't know if this is what they're aiming for, right? This is a likely prep for the Woodbine Mile. So could we see him okay here and then try to peak in that race? I think that might be the plan. So I'll try to beat him on the win end. The other one that was worth mentioning is Lucky Score. He's really honest. We do have some question marks going a mile. He feels like with his running style, it shouldn't be a problem. But you never know. With a lot of these horses, they'll flatten out, and they just want to make that short little burst. But he's at least an under horse to me. I'm going to go 7, 3, 1, 9 is how I play this. And I would use Cheryl Spate under, but if you're playing multi-exotics, I'm taking a swing against Cheryl Spate on the win end. There's a look at Saturday at Woodbine, the early pick 5, and a look at a couple of the stakes races there. Don't forget about Sunday, big day. Come and hang out with us on Sunday morning, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Barry Spears is going to join me. We're going to run through some of the big races on the Sunday card. It is King's Plate Day at Woodbine. Remember, head to drf.com and go to DRF Bets. You can get these past performances for free. Good luck on Saturday at